Welcome everybody. I'll call to order the February 11th Town Board meeting, and we'll call the meeting to order at 7:02. Will we please stand and say our pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks for everybody coming out for tonight. I know it's a little chilly out there.
Got a copy of the agenda?
I do.
Where do I get one?
We have a couple extras. You got here last, right?
Yeah.
If not, here, I got it. All right. All right, let's get started here. So we'll open up for approvals of the floor, but as usual, I'd like to take a minute to read the rules for the approvals of the floor. At every regular scheduled town board meeting, the public shall have the right to address the town board meeting during the portion of the meeting to refer to as privileges of the floor, which shall take place after the report to the town departments and supervisor. Actually, it takes place twice. Members of the public wishing to speak during the privileges of the floor may sign a sheet before the commencement of the town board meeting indicating his or her name, address, and proposed topic. The signing the sheet will dictate the order in which persons are recognized to speak and will assure the town clerk has the correct spelling of their names and addresses for the minutes. Members of the public are to restrict their comments to items of town business and are to observe proper decorum while addressing the town board. Persons who become unruly, who use inappropriate language, or persist in speaking in terms not related to town business may be ruled out of order. Although there is no official time constraint and speakers may address more than one or more topics in their comments, they should be considerate of others and try to limit their remarks to no more than 5 minutes so that all interested members of the public will have the opportunity to be heard. So we'll now open it up for privileges of the floor.
I just have a couple things.
Okay, do me a favor, state your name and address.
Lisa Crandy, Dwaynesburg Road. Back in October, meeting minutes were posted that are slanderous to me, that were edited after the original meeting minutes were put out. I don't know who changed them, who edited them, who had lived in place of the original document that went out. It is slanderous to me. There's lies. And I want the original, the board approved minutes put up there. What's up there is not accurate. I don't know who changed them. I don't know who told Tim Bishop to change them. But they need to go back to the original content.
What meeting was that? Sorry.
It was October 29th. And I have, as do all of you, and everybody else that gets meeting minutes sent to them or printed out or whatever, I have them, and I can re-email them back out to everyone. The first official board-approved meeting minutes of actually what took place. What's on the website is not those minutes. So I want that changed. I want that off of there, because if it doesn't come off of there, there's going to be some issues, because it is very slanderous and full of lies. It's not accurate from top to bottom. So I would appreciate your attention to that rather quickly, to get that off the website. And secondly, back in January, I had an incident here in the parking lot with Mr. Jasinski. And I feel that Mr. Jasinski owes me an apology. And an apology for his behavior. It was January 15th, and I can tell you exactly what time it was. It was 10:15 in the morning. I was at the light, and you remember, and you can't deny it because I do have it on my phone, time-stamped, and the location of a picture of what you did to me. It is inappropriate behavior. Whether he knew it was me or not, I want to say, I hope you did know it was me, because I don't think it would be appropriate for you to randomly do it just to anybody. At the red light, the light changed, I didn't move quite quick enough. Car behind me beeps, gives me the finger. I look in the rearview mirror, it's Joe Jasinski. I was a little surprised, so I proceeded down Waynesburg Road. As he got to the entrance of Town Hall, he beeped and did it a second time. I turned the car around, I came right into the parking lot back in front of him with his behavior. And he did it a third time, and that's when I snapped the picture. As an elected official, a representative of this town, an employee of this town, very inappropriate, very unprofessional. Whatever your personal feelings are for me should not come into play here, or your behavior in public. It's not the first time. There was another incident back in November that I never said anything about, and that was in the market. Okay? And there was a vulgar comment that came out of his mouth in the market. Not appropriate. And you owe me an apology for your behavior. And I think you owe the town an apology for behaving like that in public. And I expect to get one. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Additional comments? Okay. We'll close privileges at 7:11. We'll get on to business. Highway.
I can't quite give any real reports on the conditions of the road because they're all frozen and sloppy. But at the end of the next meeting, I will. And I've got things going with Katie Company as far as getting prices. I'm waiting for the salesman to come across with them, which he should do. We spent some time, went over all the road work and checked the plaza over. Going to give us separate prices and break everything down for us so we can pick out what we want to do. So, next meeting, I think I'll have all this information. Okay? Thanks.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nick, are you done?
Yes.
Probably 2 weeks ago, Friday, actually took a day off, and I happened to drive up Ruder Drive, and I don't know if you've been up there,
Yeah.
but I actually saw a county up there, and they had the grade all, I guess the machine, right, that does the ditches, plus 3 or 4 trucks up there. So there's a house up there that's got a spring on its lawn, and it's springing up, and it's going all over the road. Dude must have been, I guess according to Joe and the guy up there, 11 inches of ice on Ruder Drive. I'm not sure if there's anything we can do with it this year, and it might be just because it's so cold that it's forcing the water up in the mud. An engineer, but there's probably something we need to talk to the homeowner in the spring.
Right, it's got to do with the homeowner. This is what happened down lower than that, which we corrected. We were fortunate the homeowner took the responsibility and corrected it. Which cost him quite a bit of money to do it, but he cut all the trees down and made it a problem. washed all the mud and everything on the road. And luckily, he corrected it. You know, it's beautiful. Now it's up, this problem's up further.
Yeah.
There's something about it where the water's coming all the way from the back and going underground and coming out. It's hydraulic pressure is what's happening. So the only thing we can do is talk to them and see if let's look it over and see if they can do something about it. It's got to do with them rerouting that water and letting it go out the back.
Exactly.
Because there is a pond way down back, which it could go to, which wouldn't cause a problem. So we'll have to get onto that. And that wasn't noticeable that much because the other one was so bad. You know, so you got one thing worse than the other, you don't worry about the other one. Now this is it. So we'll concentrate on that come summertime, okay?
Perfect. No, exactly. I just wanted to make sure that you were, because I was amazed at how much traffic, how many, you almost had 3 trucks up there, plus the grade all, plus a whole dump truck of salt.
They were there scraping the ice probably, right?
They
Yeah.
dump salt on that road every day.
Yeah,
I see them up there.
And it's
They
costing
were up
us
there
for
today.
salt. They're charging us extra for that, you know.
yeah, exactly.
It isn't going with them doing it.
Yeah, so it's just something we wanted to probably put on our list of things to talk about.
Right, and another thing with Rooter Drive is the pavement is breaking up for some reason. And I think we got a lot more frost this year than we've had before. We got like 16 inches or 2 foot of frost on the ground in a lot of places. And I think it's picking a pipe up and disturbing the pavement, which we might have to check that over too.
All right.
That's just up a little further where the problem is with the water. So we've got a few things to look at on Rooter. Rooter always just seems to give us a little headache there, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right,
Please.
thanks. Anything for Nick?
Thank you, guys. Actually, I think.
Thanks,
I did
Lee.
it.
You got Marvin from here.
Water Commissioner.
Well, outside of the ice and cold we've been having for the last 5 or 6 weeks, everything's going fairly decent. We're getting pretty good ice caps on the tanks. I've been flushing the tanks out, and, you know, running 30, 40,000 gallons out and putting 30, 40,000 gallons back in, especially up there in Settles Hill, because you just had 300-some thousand gallons. And you're using 6,000 gallons a day, so it doesn't turn over very much.
Yeah.
But this is the coldest winter, and Gene Brousseau and I were talking, this is the coldest winter we've ever had in those tanks. In what, 14 years, 13 years, it's never been this cold for this long.
Yeah, that's why, you know, between, you know, the work you're doing and we were just talking about Rooter Drive and
Yeah.
the deep frost this year, that's for sure.
I know that Rooter Drive, I drive up there and see the ice, and as I said, 2 years ago, we were looking at that thing. You know, if you look behind that house, it's on the Pangburn Road side of it, it's higher, and it just forces that water to come right around out in front of that house. There's a drainage pond there, it's a drain for Rooter Drive right there.
Yep. Okay, anything for George? Bob?
Stay warm, George.
Thank you, sir. Well, I saw Dan walk back in, I don't know if we can grab him. In the meantime, Judge Reynolds.
Good evening Supervisor Joyce, Town Board members, Clerk Fortune, members of the audience. I ran for Princetown Judge in order to restore that office to the dignity and respect needed to instill public confidence. My life experiences, my legal career, and my conservative temperament are just what the job requires. In addition to restoring confidence in the court system, my chief goal is to work with the administration in exercising the needed fiscal restraint in order to avoid budget overruns. The issues of public confidence and fiscal restraint are critical matters for the orderly operation of the court. And yet, what I found when I came to the bench on January 2, 2014 was not really what I would have anticipated. To begin with, the methodology for organizing the physical files was at best inscrutable.
Will, can you speak up?
Sure. For example, there was no index of the various physical files to allow me to immediately put my hands on any individual case, but rather only an assortment of ambiguously labeled drawers with tickets, lawyer letters, plea bargains, some in alphabetical order, some not, a state of affairs which consumed no small amount of effort to reorganize into an intuitive arrangement with a clear methodology of efficient document retrieval. The reorganized filing system is a huge time saver which translates into reduced payroll costs. The new court's first session was convened on January 8th. In preparing for that night, I found that the previous court had adjourned some 43 cases to that date, and that the police had written another 15 with first appearances, so that the caseload was to be a 56-vehicle traffic case and 2 criminal matters. To compound this top-heavy caseload, the regularly assigned assistant DA was engaged in a murder trial that would last weeks and was unavailable for consultation. Instead, the DA's office was to dispatch whoever was available. Not to denigrate their abilities, but the usual guy really knows how to work this court. The logistical problem posed by such a weighty caseload is this. If one were to give a mere 4 minutes per vehicle traffic case and say 10 minutes for each of the criminal cases, even this short shrift would take upwards of 4 hours. I've come to learn that the previous court rarely lasted more than 2. Weeks later, when I finally did speak with the regular ADA, I learned that the typical caseload in Princetown is usually around 20 cases or so. That being said, I have perfected a model for processing upwards of 30 cases per session with the help of my confidential clerk and a privately obtained security agent acting as bailiff. As the town board members and many residents know, I pride myself on providing over 500 hours of volunteer service each and every year. On January the 5th, I was engaged as an adaptive ski instructor at Jiminy Peak, working with multiply disabled children. And between morning and afternoon lessons, I took a serious spill and sustained a separated left shoulder, bruised and cracked ribs, and an otherwise painful, though not life-threatening injury. Having spent 7 hours in the emergency room, I asked the web administrator to post a cancellation notice for the January 8th session because I did not anticipate I would be able to effectively discharge my duties as judge. Despite the notice, I nevertheless appeared at the scheduled time and place and conducted a triage session to take pleas and or give adjournments to those who may have not seen the webpage and therefore been deprived of the notice. This first court session gave me great insight into the best way to organize the orderly processing of the caseload. I used the hand scanner to check some 20 attendees for weapons, had them sign in, then manage their cases in an orderly fashion, disposing them, some of them on guilty pleas, by issuing fine letters the following day. On the next session, being January 15th, we had a private security detail which was obtained under contract at less than 1/4 of the cost of the previous Sheriff's Department detail. Thus, by this one measure alone, the new court has prospectively saved the people of Princetown nearly $17,000 per year in manpower costs. Moreover, my choice of the private security firm came with the added bonus that the security agent also acts as a courtroom bailiff, directing the attendees which sign-up sheet to use, explaining to them how the cases will be processed, informing them when the district attorney is ready to meet with them, and all the while delivering the paperwork between the ADA and the bench. At night's end, he checks for any loiterers lurking in the restrooms or community areas, double-checks the locking of the exterior doors, and leaves only after the town office is secure and vacant. As with all other personnel, no undue familiarity is evident in the exercise of the bailiff's activities. Even as early as the third court session, the process had already become routine. Thus, while I had previously been considering a second weekly traffic court session, say on Thursday night, it now well appears the current court will overtake the backlog of cases left by the prior court under the existing schedule and within the next several court sessions. The only departure I envision from Wednesday night traffic court is for a new special turn to be conducted Tuesday mornings by advance arrangement. And this would be for hearing evictions, small claims, and other civil cases. These sessions will not involve security or other costs and are seen as a means of expediting civil cases without the impact on the criminal and traffic court dockets. When first I learned that Carol McLean had prevailed in the race for town clerk by a slender margin, my first choice for confidential court clerk naturally was to be Sandra Fortune. After all, I had come to know and to trust Ms. Fortune during the campaign, and personally I witnessed the energy that she brought to the effort. Thus, with her agreement, we approached the new year with that team in place. And when I first learned of Clerk McLean's departure, and with due regard for Ms. Fortune's opportunity to exercise this more prominent role in town government, I was left with but a scant few days to find a replacement candidate for the confidential court clerk position. I had previously rejected the notion of retaining the prior court clerk as far back as mid-October when I learned she had spread a malicious libel made against me, ostensibly as support for the flagging re-election campaign of the prior judge. I knew then, with that treacherous falsehood, there could never be the level of trust needed in order for me to advance my primary goal of restoring public confidence in this town court. Consequently, I sought the approval of the town board of Becca Sheehan, an incredibly bright and energetic soul who balances full-time undergraduate coursework with the part-time requirements of confidential court clerk. A graduate of Glens Falls High School, Becca is a longtime friend of my family, and I'm very proud of her appointment to this position. Having taken the full benefit of the college break to reorganize and streamline office procedure, Becca is now able to fully discharge clerk functions 10 to 4 Mondays, 10 to 4 Wednesdays, 7 to whenever Wednesday night, and half days Fridays. One of the ways in which we have streamlined office functions is by having jettisoned the prior court's choice of online credit card processing services, govpay.net, and put into place a new service, paycourtonline.com. At first blush, one might ask, what's in a name? However, the prior court's choice was not capable of being integrated as a function of the courtroom database and case management software, but instead was a standalone feature requiring manual data entry. The primary benefit of making available online payment and case disposition is to reduce the amount of manual data entry and consequent labor cost by the court. In this regard, paycourtonline.com is by far the superior choice because it is a software application integrated as a module that operates within the existing courtroom database and case management software architecture, already long used by this court. In operation, payments made online flow seamlessly into the database, notifications are immediately triggered, and the cases are automatically disposed and closed as a function of the software application, without so much as a single keystroke entry. The software application also provides bookkeeping redundancy with real-time payment notification, periodic reconciliation statements, and all delivered by secure email. Moreover, the software application comes at no expense to the court. Singular in the myriad changes we have made to the court system is the removal of lounge chairs from the clerk's office and from chambers. These areas are and should be reserved solely for the workspace of the court. The need for a dignified appearance cannot be overstated, especially as to the clerk's office, which is in full view of the general public. Particularly in these trying economic times, the public trust is greatly diminished by displays of undue collegiality between bench and bar, or for that matter, between bench and the arresting officers. The doctrine of separation of powers is a concept that applies even at the town level. Anyone who's ever sat in a courtroom with their fate in the hands of the judge will be naturally apprehensive of the overfamiliarity and appearance of impropriety that the prior court not only tolerated but actually fostered. With this court, my court, no participant will ever be on a first-name basis with the judge or with the clerk, or ever be seen lounging around chambers. That sort of overfamiliarity is corrosive of the dignity of the court and disruptive of the orderly administration of justice. Finally, on the question of court-generated revenue, I have noted with dismay that a great many of the cases adjudicated by the prior court, but with fines and fees not collectible until after its departure, were disposed of on substantially less in fines than this court would have rendered. In one particularly egregious example, the fine was a mere $5 in a case typically costing 25 times that much. In reviewing the file, I can see no obvious reason for the prior court's lenience, and can only conclude that it was a purposeful attempt to shrink revenues as a tool for attacking the current court and clerk. Even now, the prior judge has engaged and embarked on an abusive use of the Freedom of Information law to buttress her ill-advised campaign. Although they provide a revenue source for town operations, properly assessed fines have the important, very important, societal value of discouraging the prohibited offense. In this regard, I will never shirk from my duty to protect the community by assessing each and every fine at a level appropriate to the offense. The lenience of the prior court notwithstanding, January's operations have produced revenues more than double the annualized monthly average, and we are on track to continue to operate with increasing revenue and efficiency, all the while with reduced payroll and operating costs. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor, town board members, Madam Clerk, and thank you, fellow residents.
Hold on. You guys have any questions for Judge Reynolds?
How can you predict it?
Excuse me, you're out of order.
Don't excuse me.
You're
I'm
out
telling you
of
this
order.
right now.
You're out of order. You're out of order.
Put me in order. Go outside. You think this is a joke?
One question, a couple questions. So first, thanks for staying open last week during the snowstorm. I know it's a sign of your dedication to the job. Second, I know you're coming in and you're only a couple of weeks into it at this point. I'm assuming you've reached out and you're establishing relationships with, your other state police, local police, judges,
I have
et cetera,
indeed.
around here. So-
I have indeed.
Okay. So you're,
I've arranged private numbers and private email addresses for corresponding back and forth on matters involving the court, and obviously matters involving the court alone.
all right. And so you're all set up logistically almost. I know you got a couple of computer problems, but more hardware than anything.
Having a slight glitch in integrating one of the printers into the network architecture so that it can be used as a network resource, but I've been getting by.
All right.
But as a fairly experienced network in IT, I guess you wouldn't say expert, but I'm familiar with these types of systems. I'll work it out eventually, at no cost to the town.
Doug, anything? Joe? Lou? Huh? Thank you, sir. All right. Dan Marciniak?
He's involved with that case,
Okay.
this is really, he's on the phone back and forth, talking, trying to get,
Okay, fair enough.
try to get some of the people either put up in a motel or get water or something up there.
Okay. Town planner.
Well, our office is looking better. Heather has volunteered her time on several weekends to go through all the mounds of files that have been left by the previous office. So she has done a really good job with that. I guess there's still a little bit of filing to do, and we purchased a lot of supplies to get it all organized, but hopefully we'll try to get it working more efficiently also. We're working with and on the ZRC committee. The ZRC committee is working on a definition for the new Hamlet district and coming up with permitted and prohibited uses. And I'm also working in conjunction with Mark Storty from Schenectady County Planning Department to create some GIS maps. And he has supplied us with a map of the Route 7 corridor, and he's made some changes for us, and he's willing to help us with any maps that we need for any of our planning endeavors. We're working with Pat on the town billables for the past year for the planning department projects. Heather's working with Joe on E-code. And we're still keeping up with questions from new and old clients about typical planning projects such as minor subdivisions, lot line adjustments, zoning questions, and special use permits. So we're busy.
Busy's good. Questions for? So just for the board, I don't know if you guys have a chance, but some of the supplies that the planners have asked us to pick up with some boxes and stuff. And as Loretta Coolin and her records advisory board go forward, we're going to determine or finalize the disposal records. So they've got some boxes of old stuff back there. So I know you guys are going through every file one by one and cleaning out what's relevant, what's not relevant anymore. So some good work. Appreciate it. I know you've got some actions going on in the action register, so again, I appreciate that too. You guys are doing a heck of a job. Bob, anything for Laura? All right. Thanks. Heather, you want to add comments?
No, I'm good.
You're good?
I'm good.
All right. Sure.
She's saving herself.
Well, just for everybody's edification, again, Heather's been putting some big hours in for us, so doing some great work, Heather, and I want to thank you very much.
I personally would like to tip my hat to Heather. She's been a great help. Her knowledge and experience in these matters is very, very helpful.
Yep.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, Heather. So Norm, you guys, a couple things?
The county, as you know, has put together a UCC system where all fire, police calls will come into one central location. And they've been working on this probably a year and a half. They are now at the point where they hope the new dispatch system will go into, the system will go in next month. That doesn't mean they're going to be working yet. The system's going to be in. And they're waiting for the tower, for the county's final sign-off to put the tower up. And then all departments, towns, and the city will be trained in how to use it. They are working on a notifier software that can be used in case of a disaster. There's all these different things that have to go in to a county-wide system. They've been negotiating for labor contracts, and they have finally come to an agreement on the health insurance for the dispatchers. And one of the issues with the dispatchers is you have people from the city, you have the people from Rotterdam, Glenville, Niskayuna, at all different pay levels. So what they're going to do is try to average that and adjust it. So whoever's receiving the highest amount will stay at that level, and the others will initially start at the current level they are at, and then each year they will begin to get pay raises that are going to be equivalent to adjustments to finally, after 5 years, everybody will be at the same pay scale. The projected date to actually be online, not for use, but to be online to begin using this, is March 15th. And when they start on March 15th, they're hoping to have the town of Rotterdam first. Apparently there's 2 systems in the area right now. Rotterdam is a standalone, the city of Schenectady is a standalone. I'm not sure who Glenville and Niskayuna work, whether they work through Rotterdam, I think it's the city maybe, whatever it is. So they're going to start with Rotterdam. And then once they get the bugs out of Rotterdam, then they'll add either Niskayuna or Glenville. And then once this is up and running, then they will add the city of Schenectady into this. And they're hoping to have everything done and running properly by May. So that's the extent of that. And the other thing is, there has been some talk about the town of Glenville has a system with a barcode reader that will read property taxes, school taxes, and water taxes. So I met with the town of Glenville, the tax assessor and the supervisor to learn how this works, how they find it, and a rough idea of the cost. And the tax receiver said they could not live without it. When people come in, the barcode is put on their tax bills as they go out. When people come in to pay the taxes, they scan it. It's automatically, like the judge said, with scanning his stuff, it's automatically done, recorded, and it accounts for all the money and who makes it. Glenville, I have a copy of their agreement, paid $670 for the first year's annual software support maintenance fee. And the maintenance fee is $100, so they paid $570 plus the $100. The $570 includes the software, the hardware and the training for the people on how to use it and how to set it up with the barcodes. And each year after that, you pay $100 for continued maintenance and everything you have. I was chatting with a judge, and he said he has 2 barcode readers. So I don't know. If you want me to pursue this, we'll find out if we can use one in the town clerk's office. If so, that may reduce to $570 for the initial cost. But if you would like me to continue the looking into this, then I will meet with these people and perhaps have them meet with their town clerk and the assessor's office just to learn more about it. Then we can present an actual contract to you or a proposal to you. So it's up to your,
So the 570 is just the software?
no, the software, training, and the hardware, I believe the scanner.
So, okay, so we don't need to buy a scanner, the scanner will come.
We may not. If we can use the one that we have, and when they come in, we could have them look at it, then they can, I'm not sure what the cost of that is, but
And we're gonna go for it, it's $100 a year.
yes.
So, Town Clerk Fortune, how many transactions did you make about during your tax season, your rookie season?
Don't know, but an awful lot of data input into the computer for the taxes.
So, in estimate, just 2 minutes, 5 minutes per transaction.
Transaction, probably 5 minutes.
So, you know, do some division, $100 into 1,100 transactions, that's just for, you know, for taxes, property taxes. And how many users we have on water?
300.
300.
But the water is on the tax bill,
Both of them?
not both of them, but the water debt service is on the tax bill.
And you get school taxes.
Right. I wouldn't mind taking a look.
All right, so
further.
I'll-
I mean,
I'll
it's coming down to a couple cents of.
Research more to find out just exactly, specifically what it would be involved for our town and the cost, and then report back to you.
Yeah, good deal. And like, I think we also talked about using the software to do an inventory in a town, hardware, you can print up barcode labels. I think that's what the, I'm not sure.
I think so, but did not discuss that with them.
All right. Questions for Norm? No? All right.
Okay.
Before we move to council, I know we're starting to run a little bit late here. I guess we have a special guest appearance from Melissa Bender.
Hi, thank you for having me. Actually, thank you, Joe, for inviting me to come. I work for the Center for Disability Services, and one of our homes is located on South Kelly Road. I've been with them for 20 years, and when I first started, I was at that home, and we had a very good relationship with the town at the time. And what I would like to propose is trying to forge a relationship with us, the staff at the house and the town, to be able to come and do some volunteer work, to plant flowers, do something like that to give back to the community. We used to do that every year when the town hall was up on South Kelly Road. We planted the flowers every spring, and we would like to get back into something like that. So, with, arrangements of any kind can be made, and the staff that work there are very willing to spend some volunteer hours to contribute back to the town.
That's excellent. So, I guess I'm assuming it's kind of volunteer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and just taking care of the beds like once a week. I mean, there's actually, you wouldn't think of it, but there's, we do have some significant beds between, it's in the building, out in front of the driveway, the gazebo.
Right. I think that we can take a look at what we have, and then we would be able to let you guys know what we could manage. You know, our staffing is rich up there, but we also have to attend to the individuals that live there 24 hours a day. So I can't at this point give you amount of hours that we could do a week or a month. I'd have to take a look at what we have, but, you know, anything that we can do.
Yeah, if you can just give us an idea. And
Yeah.
you would provide transportation?
Oh, we could do that. That wouldn't be a problem. If we're talking about just coming down and taking care of some of the beds down here, you know, my initial thought was in the spring, helping the people that coordinate that, coming down and having a day where we would help and plant flowers, do mulching, that kind of stuff, and then setting up a schedule maybe for a few times during the summer of weeding and that kind of stuff. We'd be very, very excited to do that.
Yeah, and that's why I wouldn't, you know, expect you guys to be here every day.
Right.
But, you know.
Right.
If you guys, yeah, especially because, especially a couple key times, yeah, the civic committee does, you know, some annual plantings, that'd be a nice event for everybody to join.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, the individuals that live there really aren't at a level that they can participate that much, but the staff are very willing on their behalf to come and volunteer to the town. So any information that, you know, if you want to get together with me, Joe, and
Yeah.
give me information or pass along my number to somebody, and I'll coordinate with the management at the house, and, you know, we can work it out.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'll be in touch.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Melissa. All right, Loretta, you're hiding back there. No updates?
No, we need these tomorrow.
All right.
We need these tomorrow.
All right, so the attached action register, I don't want to go through every action, I'm just going to go down and ask the board if they've got any updates. Start with Doug.
No, I haven't had any more prices.
All right. Mr. Joe?
Well, the big push this week was on E-code, but also I got in touch with Draker Electronics in Burlington, Vermont. They're going to provide a public view website for our monitoring of the solar. And they've asked us to give some language to what we want to be playing on a banner for Princetown. And so I'm going to work with Lou and come up with something, plus photographs of, you know, before and after at each site. So that will all be shown on the website.
Is there any possibility we can stream some town events, you know?
That's the question. I called the guy in Burlington to ask him some things like that, but he was not at his desk when I called, so. But I'll check, I'll definitely check.
All right. Just on a quick sidebar, but on that, for the town board, I have set up Verizon to come in the next agenda meeting to do a presentation on putting some wireless modems out the well houses that don't have phones. So we can stream some usage from there. It's probably pretty cheap, like $20 a month, but maybe we can do better. See if we can put a wireless broadband into town hall and get off the DSL. And then actually the overall solution, if there's a business, if you have some business phones, you know, just listen to their proposal from a technology perspective, you know, are they wanting services on the cloud and stuff, so hopefully maybe it'll hook into your Draker thing too.
So this is on the 25th?
Yep, yeah, 2 weeks from tonight. All right, sorry.
No, and then I ran out of time. So I did, Doug and I talked briefly about, I talked with Angelo Santa Barbara's office. Did you ever get a hold of him?
I called them, they never called me back.
Yeah, I know. But, and I checked with Tony Jasinski, the county legislature chairman, about funds that would help us get a sign out on the town hall. And he told me the best bet is to work with the assembly in the state, because he thinks that they,
That's what he told me when I went to that meeting. Remember, I told you I went to that meeting and I talked to him and I asked him, and he said, they would get nothing from the town to do that.
so I just saw him today by accident, so,
The county's broke.
yeah.
It's really quite broke.
Well, we'll keep working on this, maybe we can come up with something.
Okay.
I got a call into him, so.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else, Joe?
No, that's it.
All right. Mr. Lou?
State police, bids on to do the roof over, the upper portion of the roof, we've got the one estimate from Shears Contracting. I had another contractor over there today, Mark's Roofing. I was informed by him and another contractor that the prices of materials is gonna increase 3 to 8% March 1st, but he's wrote down the measurements and he's gonna wait and see what the increases are gonna be. To put a little bit of an overhang on the upper roof, he's talking about a torch roofing for flat roofing as opposed to a rubber roofing, he said, because a rubber roofing, you have to reseal it every 5 years. With a torch roofing, you don't have to do that. It's a little more expensive, but that's what he suggested. I don't think that we had that estimate included with Shears. I didn't look at it. I didn't have time when I got back today to let him know if that was in that before he makes the estimate on it. That's with a 3-inch overhang on the upper portion. My suggestion is that we do the upper roof first. The shingled portion, even according to Shears, we could probably get by with another year. And the reason I'm saying that, because it's probably gonna cost us, you saw in one estimate, over $9,000 to do the upper roof with that little 3-inch overhang. And we're gonna have to pull some siding down to do it. You just do the upper portion. We've got some other work that has to be done over there. Come October, if we have the money, and I'm assuming we should have it, to redo the second portion of the roof. And if we don't have it, then we can put it off until the following year. And the reason being is I don't want to use the money up in case we have another major problem over there with the heating system. Air conditioning might have to be replaced this summer. We're not gonna have enough money in the budget to do it. And we don't wanna go over budget. So my suggestion is to do the upper portion of the roof, do the minor repairs around the building. I already had a electrician in there that replaced 10 ballasts this past week, and the lighting in it. And my question is this, and I don't have a copy of the lease, but apparently the state police think that we're supposed to be replacing light bulbs and all of the lighting around there anytime one goes bad. Now, I know Mike has looked over the contract. Do we have to replace when they have lights out?
I don't remember seeing a routine maintenance like that.
They seem to think that we do. They don't even want to purchase light bulbs. They want us to fix the lights out by a state police sign. All of the mercury lights are going off and on, and according to the electrician, when a mercury light goes bad, if the ballast doesn't go bad, which I replaced out here, he says that the lights will cycle off and on as to burning out completely. And there's probably, they're at $20 a pop for these mercury lights. Do we have, that's my question, do we have to replace them, or is it up to them to replace them? I mean, because we're gonna be talking, you could get up to X number of dollars with this, to do this over here. Every time we got a light bulb or a ballast or a fluorescent light out, that we have to go out and buy them. I don't know what the lease says, if we're supposed to be doing this or not. They already went out, he already got the electrician to do this, which I didn't tell him to do, but they told him that they needed lights in the, all the lights in their garage were out. And one of the valves was out, and he told them that we didn't, that was not part of what I told him to do, but he went out and fixed the lights out there. And he wanted them to come, they wanted him to come back and finish the lights outside, and I told him no, not until I check with you to see what the lease says.
Well, we can check, but generally, even though it's not that specific in the lease, and the lease has all of these specific projects that we're supposed to do, that when you have lighting that are fixtures, not freestanding kinds of lighting, that usually it's landlord's responsibility.
So it is our responsibility, is what you're saying.
I would think the fixture itself is our responsibility, the light bulb themselves. And I think
That's what I'm thinking too.
And, you know, go to Walmart and buy a box.
That's what I'm thinking too. I mean, I'm just checking with you, because if they come back and say, no, we checked our lease and it's up to the town to replace these. I don't know what the lease says.
I'll go through it again, but I don't believe.
What about
it's
these
that
outside
specific.
lights that he's asking us to redo, these mercury lights that have to be replaced?
Well, I think when we were there, they were calling fixtures outside were improperly installed, and they, got wet.
Well, according to the electrician, they're not improperly installed, they're just going bad, and they're expensive to replace. He's got you just can't climb up there with a ladder. I mean, I did it out here, put it on the back of my pickup truck when I replaced the valves and did all that, but, you gotta get a picker or something up there to elevate up there, so you gotta rent one to come in and do this. I mean, this is not just something that we do, is that our responsibility? That's what I just wanna know.
One of those outdoor fixtures would be ours.
Yeah, I don't think it's a fixture, it's gotta be ours. But I don't know, if you want to maybe set up another meeting, with 3 of us or 4 of us, and do them again, and go through the release again?
I don't know, I think it might be advisable because, every little thing they want done. They don't wanna be responsible for anything.
Neither do I, but.
Well, I know that, but we gotta look at what the lease agreement says. I mean,
Like I said to him, I said, I'll do what you want, but we're not going over the budget.
no, we're not. That's why I said, let's only do the upper portion of the roof and keep the extra money until come October, November. If we've got enough money left in the budget, we can do the second portion of the roof.
Agreed. All right.
But there's other things that have to be done. The garage has gotta be done. The water is just coming in there. I've got estimates on that. I've got one estimate already. And I'm gonna get 2 more to do that, to fix this the right way. I don't think it's gonna be that costly, but I do have an estimate here from Nick, so we've got that. I'm just thinking that somebody's gotta tell me what our responsibility is and what their responsibility is. You just can't, you send somebody over there, he says, oh, I got this to do and that to do and this to do, like the lights outside for the state police, it shines on their sign. It's not our responsibility.
All right, well, let's set up a meeting and get their shopping list and say, this is your budget.
Can I say 2 cents?
Sure.
One, all the years between Carol and I doing the police barracks and everything, interior light bulbs, state police replace. The fluorescent lights and everything. They used to bring their own fluorescent light bulbs in and replace those things. We didn't do it.
Like $5 to you, a dozen.
They brought the outside lights, parking lot and everything else. Of course, we had to replace the bulbs in them.
Where are you buying it for $5? I just bought a whole box and put in my garage, it was like 70, 80 bucks. Them things, they're $9 a piece for fluorescent bulb nowadays. I couldn't believe it. I just put 6 in my garage.
Well, when they need light bulbs again inside, I understand. The outside ones, then I guess we'll have to do something with it.
Well, we should meet with them because, you know, by contract, we're under to do their, windows too, so let's get the shopping list together and say, here you are.
So then I don't think we should be looking at windows this year at all. I mean, we've got too many other important things like a roof.
And, yeah, I agree with you. I just wanna make sure that they buy off on it. It's a contract, at least, you know, here's your choices, folks, so this is what we're spending. So as long as he buys off on it, then I'm okay, with, you know, whatever you recommend.
As far as, that's it with the state police now. As far as the, we've got over here, the recycling, we've got the bins out there, they're recycling. Heather has sent me a note that she wanted to know what goes in there, if they're on the top of the bin. I didn't want to have a contract with Baller, because if we ever want to change, we could always change, and we wouldn't be locked into a contract with them in case somebody else came up. I mean, they came up with such a low price that, to do this, and I don't think we could beat it anyway, but I'm not interested in a contract. I don't know how everybody else feels to have a contract with them. I just thought we'd leave it open-ended and go from there. If you've got a problem with them, you could always switch.
No, looks like they cut their price to what you agreed to, so I'm good with it.
And let's see what else we got. Oh, you've got over here, we were talking about a mailbox with Bob and I. We've got a mailbox out there on the corner of the driveway. I don't know what's wrong with that mailbox to begin with. And why, you know, if we want to get mail 6 days a week, they're going to go down to 5 days a week, and there's somebody here 4 days a week. For the extra 2 days, and we do have a mailbox out there, why we just don't tell the mailman to deliver it there?
It's not secure.
Well, I suppose we can put a lock on it if that's the case, but I don't understand why we need it, but that's my personal opinion. I mean, we've got other things that we should be worried about, but the other thing is the front door. I had Stanley Wolf up here again and we changed the locks. He's telling me over here that the reason that the first doors were not locked ever. Somebody walked in over there because the front door is not closing all the way. And if it's not closed all the way, it's not gonna lock, obviously. The pins on the bottom are rubbing against the threshold on the bottom. He doesn't replace those, but he did tell me to do those work on those doors. It'll probably cost $1,500 a door to do that, to work on them, those doors. He took an Allen head and we made so the first doors would lock. So now you have 2 doors locking in case someone doesn't lock the outside door and make sure it's locked. They can come in the vestibule and they still can't open the second door. That one shuts completely. The other ones, the other 2 on the outside, the thresholds are hitting, the pins are hitting on the bottom, there's nothing you can do about it. They just need to be rebuilt. I'm not, the building's what, 11 years old? So I have them so that both doors are locking now, and I think they should be left that way. Of course, the indoors are, the inside doors will probably start to wear a little bit more, but it's an added security so that if the one door doesn't lock and somebody doesn't check to see if it's locked, the inside one will be locked. So I told Sandy to make sure that both doors are locked now. When they're locked, when she closes up or who's ever here. So you have a double security. If they come in one, they can't get in the other. And I think that should be that way to begin with. But the other thing is the door handles on those. He told me that they're going to have to be replaced. He said he can do that. He's going to give me a price on them because you'll notice them when you grab them, because everybody opens it and they pull on them, and they're ready to break off if you look at it, especially the outside ones. So he's gonna give me a price on replacing them, and he hasn't yet. I'll have to call him and remind him. That's what's going on with the front doors. Joe talked about the solar, and they're putting updating that, so. Other than that, I guess that's all I have. If I got anything else here. Oh, the gazebo. We talked about doing that, fixing the electrician wants to put an LED light on there. That light is on all the time. We could probably save what we're spending on the electric for that floodlight to do that. I talked about it at the town board meeting prior. And he says he can replace this and he'll put it on dusk at dawn, so that it comes off and on, dusk at dawn. I told him to go ahead and do it because it's not that expensive to do that. He's gonna do it when the weather's better. Probably costs about, I don't know, whatever it costs for the LED light and to put it in. It's minimal and probably save it in electric for a year. So. Other than that, that's all I got.
Good deal. Any questions for Lou? Councilman Bob?
All right, to my regret, I didn't get a rough draft written on the personnel policy, but with all due respect, I really, in looking it over, and then I was going through some of the chapters of the E-code that we were supposed to be prepared for tonight, and it seemed like there was gonna be some duplication. And so I held off, and I, for one, still feel very strongly that at one of our agenda meetings, we should discuss what we want into our employee policy before we write it up and we butcher it. So that's where I ended up with that project. Like I said, there was one or two things that I saw, even as of now, as far as we've gotten into the E-code, where it appeared there was some duplication, so I didn't know if that was gonna be, you know, to no avail. So,
Okay.
but I do think we should discuss it. I do have a number of changes that I have submitted, but, you know, I'd like to get the input of the rest of the board.
Good deal. Ready, Bob?
That's it.
Questions for Bob? All right. And for myself, to the question on, at the agenda meeting about the open stage, so I sent a note to open stage, copied Ben. So I guess, Ben, you're gonna make some kind of a technical adjustment to make
See
it
if
better.
that corrects it. Yep.
All right.
Some
And-
low audio boost, so take care of that.
And then we actually got 2 extra showings a month, so I don't have the dates on them. Because I went to watch a week ago Sunday, after we heard, you know, some residents complaining, to go watch the video, and ended up sitting through the Rotterdam.
There wasn't any on at Princetown on Sunday.
No, I watched Rotterdam, which was interesting to begin with, but.
I don't watch it, but
Yeah.
my wife watches it.
So I sent a note to Ben and then through to Open Stage or Proctor's, and so there, again, Ben's gonna make a technical adjustment, and my question to him is like, so how come all these other towns get 3, 4, 7 meetings, and we get 2? So I don't have the dates in front of me, but we will put them up on the website. We got 4 showings now, the town board meetings a week, so that brings us up to about par with everybody else.
So the most recent Rotterdam that you watched, the most recent meeting, is that what you watched?
I'm thinking, yeah.
Okay. And there was no sound problem?
I didn't have any, no, but they got the mics, but I don't know if that's,
No, because I record their video.
I did see you.
So I don't understand why you're having an issue that I'm doing the same thing. I don't know. Well, I'll look into that. Hopefully this will correct it. But.
All right. All right, thank you, sir. I couldn't make it today, but Joe came down and met with the county, so we talked about the 25% for the Norman skill repair, so that may actually move up about 28%, so it's good news. Been working with Heather. I finished my financial letter for the 2013 budget, so that'll be submitted on time. Started working with Heather, or with Loretta on the RFP for technology updates. Started the draft on the state controller's request and the RFP for the, to get an audit in town. So hopefully I'll have them completed in 2 weeks. And I think that's about it for myself. Okay, any questions for me? All right. Let's move on to business. So the first piece is minutes approval. Do I have a motion that the January 28th Town Board agenda meeting for 2013 are approved?
I'll make it.
Second. Thank you, Bob. Councilman Esposito. Yes. Councilman Gray.
Yes.
Councilman Jazinski.
Yes.
And Councilman Myers.
Yes.
And Joyce is a yes. A couple organizational notes. I'll go through them. When I developed them, I wrote down the wrong budget line that we're going to be taking the consultants out of. So these two resolutions for Loretta and for Heather really are just changing the budget lines. So amend resolution 1407, assistant to the supervisor. Amend resolution 1407 from be it resolved that Loretta Coolin be appointed as the assistant to the supervisor at a monthly stipend of $125 from budget line 12311 for a term ending on or before 12/31/14. Loretta's responsibilities will include reviewing town hall operations to drive cost reductions to improve efficiencies, consultation on updating the town's human resource and employee policies, and overall coordination of the town-wide records update program. To read as follows. All right, yeah. So the new budget line is 13,404. And then the same with the amended resolution 1408, exactly the same for Heather, just moving from 12,311 to the new budget line of 13,404. 13, as you guys know, the .1 line on the budget is actually for services being employees, whereas Heather and Loretta are now contractual employees, such as Mike. Do I have a motion?
I'll make it.
Did we already vote on this on the organizational meeting?
Yeah, but I'm amending them.
You said we already voted on all this? This was already approved once, right?
Yeah. Yep. So we have a motion by Joe. Do I have a second?
And how was it amended, Mike?
From 1230 line 1231
That's the only change.
to 13,404,
Okay.
the budget line. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Bob. Councilman Esposito.
Yeah, I'll, just wanna make a statement about this. I don't know why we need, why we're spending $1,500 a year for this. But since we already approved it at the, organizational meeting, I don't see how we can not approve it now, since it was already done. But I think it's a waste of money, but since we already, approved it, I guess I'm gonna have to vote yes.
Councilman Gray. Yes. Councilman Brzezinski.
Yes.
Councilman Myers.
Yes.
Councilman Joyce. Joyce, yes. Do I have a motion for Heather for
I'll make it.
I'll second
Thank you, Joe. Councilman Esposito?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Yes.
Councilman Krasinski?
Yes.
Councilman Myers?
it. Yes.
And Joyce, yes. New business. So as Councilman Esposito has proposed, a resolution to the SAFE Act, I'm gonna ask the town board to table the motion, give us some time to, read Senator, it's Kathy Marchon, right? Senator Kathy Michonne's amendment to the SAFE Act, where it's not a full repeal, it's a partial repeal. So I guess all I'm asking is the town board, let's table this for, until next meeting, give everybody some time to go through this and see what everybody's thoughts are.
I agree with that.
I don't. This law is not being enforced as it is. Sheriff's departments are not enforcing it, state police is not enforcing it. It's a violation of the Constitution. Total of full repeal of the SAFE Act. To me, this was just done as a spur of the moment, feel-good legislation. And I'm totally opposed to it. I think that it should be repealed completely. And since we talked about it at the agenda meeting, it's presented on here, I think it should be voted on. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks.
I'd like to read more carefully Senator Marchion's amendment to the SAFE Act. Because I'm not for black and white things, actions. So that's what I agree with Mike, tabling it so that we can make a rational review of what's been proposed and then go from there rather than just say no. That's my feeling.
What did they take out?
We don't know.
Make it better.
That's why, if we get a chance to read what Senator Marchion has proposed, then we can make a better decision, it seems to me.
Well, what if you oppose it now? What difference that gonna make? They're gonna do what they want anyway, but if we at least got on record that we're opposing it. I don't agree with any of it. I think it's all crazy.
So, would you be willing to table it, or do you wanna move forward?
I'll make the motion.
Go on.
So, do
The question to the board right now is, we want to table it.
No, we just said no. You don't want to table it, do you?
it. No.
I do.
No, I think it's an infringement on our constitutional rights. I'm ready to vote on it.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Esposito?
Absolutely, yes.
Councilman Gray?
Yes.
Councilman Krasinski?
No.
Councilman Myers?
Yes.
Supervisor Joyce is a no. DEC license agreement, DEC license agreement, town clerk needs to go into, sign an agreement to get new DEC licensing software and hardware. So this resolution is to, and Sandy can speak to it a little bit, but, basically the makers of the DEC license need the town clerk to sign off on it. So the motion is hereby resolved, the town board, the town of Princetown authorizes town clerk Sandy Fortune to enter into and sign the DEC licensing agent agreement, thereby allowing the town of Princetown to sell hunting and fishing licenses through the town's clerk's office.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Esposito.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Jazinski.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Joyce, yes. All right, so we reviewed these last week or 2 weeks ago. So for the audience, again, as Joe's laid out with Heather and some of the extended consultants, a 12-week cycle of reviewing the town laws in coordination with E-code or general code to update all the town laws in Princetown. So Joe, Heather, Loretta, and the extended teams have put together a schedule where every 3 or 4 weeks, every 2 weeks, we'll be reviewing 3 or 4 laws. So last week we reviewed these. What we're going to do is say we agree, or hopefully we say we're going to agree, and then we'll table them, say we review them, and then move on to the next 3 or 4, and then come May or June, we'll finish them all, and then we can enact the whole suite of laws in one motion, in one town law. So fees and town fee schedule. That the town board of town of Princetown agrees to the recommendation, with the recommendation of General Code Publishing, that the town board should set by resolution all fees for town services, and that in the new town code, all local laws that establish fees should be amended to include, as set from time to time by resolution of the town board, in place of a specific fee amount. The town board directs General Code Publishing to make the necessary change on all local laws to be incorporated in the new town code, which shall be adopted by local law when the complete town code is ready for adoption at the end of the E-code project. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I got a question for this, Joe. Because the town board is still in charge of the fees, what they're gonna be set. This is only gonna be placed into E-code. This is what we're voting on?
Yeah, what it's gonna do is take the individual fees out of dog licenses, building permits and everything, and put it on a schedule that we will, like at the organizational meeting every January. And so if there's any adjustments to be made, we don't have to go into each individual law and change it. We just change the fee schedule that's referred to in the laws back to the fee schedule.
Okay.
So it's a very efficient way to do it.
Okay.
I have a question, like, on building permits and stuff, okay? I think we're way out of line with the other towns around here. I think we're charging too much.
Well, then this is how we can,
Okay, so in other words, if I vote for this now, when are you gonna change the fees? When are you gonna put the fees up, or?
Every January, isn't that what you just?
well, or, I mean, we don't, isn't
You
that?
don't have to wait till January, you can do that resolution anytime.
Right. So, I mean, that gives us, the town board, the flexibility to say, this is the fee.
Right, because like I said, when I built my pole barn, it was over $1,200.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
building
Well, this
permits
is-
to Waynesburg would have been $380.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and the same thing with houses, like $380 to build a house today in Princetown, you're looking at $1,000, $1,500.
Sure. Yeah, so that's what,
So in other words, if I vote yes on this now, then when are you gonna do these, when are you gonna show this paper saying what the prices are gonna be?
well,
Actually, the first one you probably won't do until after you adopt the new town code.
that's right. Which will probably be in October.
So,
Yes.
say I vote yes for this right now. This is just saying that we're going to adjust the fees to what we want.
No.
It's gonna give you the ability to do that by
By
resolution.
resolution.
Because what you would have to do in the alternative is you would have to go through each local law, one by one, and amend it. And when you amend a local law, you have to go through the local law process, which means that you first have to have a resolution calling for a public hearing. That has to be published, so there's expense to the town to publish that. Then you hold a public hearing, and only after the public hearing can you adopt the local law. Then you have to send it to the Secretary of State and have it filed, and then it only takes effect 20 days after it gets filed with the Secretary of State, so it's,
You're eliminating all what you
right,
just
you're
said.
you're getting rid of all that
That's
kind
right.
of paperwork and procedure and making a simple town board resolution when you want to change the fees.
And that just gives us, this, what we're saying here is that just gives us the ability to make it from a law to a resolution. We're not setting any fees, we're not doing anything here, we're just saying it's not going by law anymore, it's going by resolution, like every organizational meeting every year, for example.
I'd like to make just one comment, Mike. It's not, General Code Publishing is not the company we're dealing with, it's just General Code is their name.
Well, actually, they are General Code Publishing. They refer generally as General Code, but the actual.
Is that true? I mean,
Yes, I've dealt with them for 30 years.
Okay, I stand, I mean, I'm just looking at,
Right, the book is probably just gonna say General Code.
it just says General Code.
Right.
Okay. I stand corrected, I retract my,
All right, so Joe, we had you for a motion?
Yeah,
Well, actually,
I'll make-
we have a motion, yeah.
I'll second.
Councilman Esposito?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Yes.
Councilman Drzezinski?
Yes.
Councilman Myers?
Yes.
And Joyce is a yes. General provisions, adoption of code. Whereas the town has established through local law 1 of 1975 a conservative commission, and whereas Conservation Commission. Whereas the Conservation Commission has been replaced by the Princetown Environmental Advisory Committee, the PIAC. Now therefore be resolved, the town board of the town of Princetown hereby directs General Code Publishing to remove any reference to the Conservation Commission from the proposed new town law of the town of Princetown, and prepare the necessary provisions in the law adopting the new town code for the repeal of local law number 1, 1975. Do I have a motion?
I'll make it.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Bob. Councilman Esposito?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Yes.
Councilman Drzezinski?
Yes.
Councilman Myers?
Yes.
And Joyce is a yes. Discussion appointed assessor. Be resolved, the town board agrees with the recommendation of General Code Publishing to retain with no change the provision of our existing local law regarding the appointed assessor, and directs General Code to include the provisions regarding the appointed assessor as an article of the proposed new law. Do I have a motion?
I'll make it.
Can I ask one question?
Yep.
We're appointing our assessor now.
Yep.
No, yes. Correct.
He's not elected.
So who had the, I'm sorry, who had the motion, is that Bob?
Joe.
Joe.
I did.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bob. Councilman Esposito? Councilman Gray?
Yes.
Councilman Drzezinski?
Yes.
Councilman Myers?
Yes.
And Joyce is a yes. That's just financials here. So we started on, hey Sandy, what I don't see in here is the abstract of signature for the 13. So we'll have to come back and sign it. We'll go ahead and pass those two, sign, come back and sign it. Those two is- So for the board, you know, we're closing out 13, it should be closed, there may be a straggler, we may need to approve at the agenda meeting, but we're pretty confident that 99% of our bills are completed and processed. So we're gonna be doing the hopefully the final abstract for the 13, and then abstract number 2 for 14. So general fund claims, 2013 abstract number 14. The town board approved claims 422 to 428 in the amount of $9,280.35.
I'll make the motion.
What's this one for? 9,000.
There's 4 claims, 422 through 428.
This was for 2013 year, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll second.
We don't have an abstract to sign off on this, so we're gonna have to come back in, 3 of us anyway. So, Councilman Esposito?
Yes.
Councilman Gray? Uh-oh, you're probably gonna abstain.
Yeah.
Councilman Drzezinski?
Yes.
Councilman Myers?
Yes.
And Joyce is a yes. You guys can look at them. You probably just initial here, I guess, huh?
I got an issue with two.
I'm not sure, I'll ask Mike, Mike goes the cover page, I don't know if it'll go, but at least we'll acknowledge for Sandy if there's an audit or something before we get back in there and print up the abstract, but we've all signed off on it.
Be good deal. At least have that document.
Yeah, instead of this page, all I'm saying is just sign it for the cover page. No, yeah, sign it. You voted yes on it. All right, this is the 2014. Here's the abstract on that.
You're not gonna sign it.
No.
And, if you could sign that.
Have to sign a voucher in there too someplace.
All right, I went through most of them, so before the meeting. General fund claims for 2014 abstract number 2. The motion, the town board approves claims 7 through 44 in the amount of $17,827.13. The motion.
I'll make it.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Bob. Councilman Esposito?
Yes. This is for the year 2014.
Yes, sir. Sorry, Doug, Councilman Gray?
Yes.
Councilman Drzezinski?
Yes.
Councilman Myers?
Yes.
And Joyce is yes. All right, we got, I need water, right?
Yes, there is one.
All right. Joy, want to pass water down?
Oh, I didn't sign it.
So water fund claims, it looks like we just have one bill in there from 14. Actually, it's maybe 13, sorry. So, Sandy, you want to scratch that? Water fund claims, oh, it is number 14, sorry. My mistake. Water fund claims 2013, abstract number 14. The town board approves claims 140 in the amount of $209.34. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Thank you, Bob. Second? Thank you, Lou. Councilman Esposito?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Abstain.
Oh, sorry. Councilman Drzezinski?
Yes.
Councilman Myers?
Yes.
Councilman Joyce is a yes. All right, 2014, abstract number 2. The town board approves claims 4 through 17 in the amount of $6,314.46.
I'll make the motion.
This is 13. This is 14, so Doug's gonna sign this one. Oh, I did, okay, sorry. You go now. the motion, Joe?
Yes.
Do you have a second? Lou? Councilman Esposito?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Yes.
Councilman Krasinski?
Yes.
Councilman Myers?
Yes.
Councilman, Joyce? Yes. Highway claims. Highway claims for 2013. The town board approves claim number 8 for the amount of $12,336.38 for 2013 snow, ice repairs, and maintenance on road repairs. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Luke. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Bob. Councilman Esposito?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Abstain.
Oh, that's right. Councilman Drzinski?
Yes.
Councilman Myers?
Yes.
And Joyce is a yes. And then this final one is the transfer. Just as a note, Sandy, those two resolution numbers are shown 13 dash. All right. So a motion, town board approves a transfer of $12,336.38 from account number 99019 to account number 5031 for 2013 snow ice repairs and maintenance road repairs.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Lou. Councilman Esposito?
Yes.
Doug Ray, you're abstaining? Yep. Thank you. Councilman Drzinski?
Yes.
Councilman Myers?
Yes.
And Councilman Joyce. All right, the next two are just transfers to balance the budgets per New York State Controller guidelines. Again, all 2013, so instead of going through each one of them, because it's, again, it's the final year, so this is the transfers, automatic contingency fund, automatic town hall, again, to balance, not to say not to balance the budget, but to balance the lines, before we submit the budget for, before we submit the final budget on the 28th, or maybe sooner, to New York State. So do I have a motion, or is there any questions on it before I just jump into it, bud?
Yeah, I was wondering, how come they're over so much? Some of them are like 8,000, 10,000,
8,000,
8,027.
the attorney lines. Well, we spent $9,000 in attorney fees for sex discrimination. We spent an extra, probably $6,000 on planning, the moratorium. So some of these attorney fees are billable and have been billed, we just haven't collected revenue on them, so. Even though we did, budget 35,000, again, with the moratorium, the sex discrimination, that was $9,000. Those were unaccounted for and not planned into.
Like the police was, that just went over because of emergencies?
It could have been, I'd have to look into 31, 204.
Spent a lot on that, doing that
Yeah.
And it was $2,000 for the E-code deal? That's what it's gonna cost to do that?
Well, it's actually,
Cost?
the total cost was
2013.
right, so the total cost of the project for E-code was $15,000. And we balanced it according to three budgets, 2013, 14, and No, 12, 13, and 14. So this is the, once we pay this year, we're done. But that's what it is for E-code.
That's all my questions.
All right, thank you.
This is 2013, so it doesn't really reflect on me.
So do I have a motion?
I'll make it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bob. Councilman Esposito?
Yes.
Councilman Graves and abstain. Councilman Brzezinski?
Yes.
Councilman Myers?
Yes.
And Joyce, a yes. And then finally, award fund transfers for 2013. Same deal, end of year balance in the balance sheets for submission to, for final 2013 submission of budget to New York State. Any questions on this? Not sure if George is still here if we did, but. All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make it.
Second.
Thank you. Councilman Esposito?
Yes.
Doug Graves abstain. Councilman Brzezinski?
Yes.
Councilman Myers?
Yes.
And Joyce, a yes. All right. All right, we'll open the floor back up for privileges of the floor. At, I guess, 8:40.
Michelle Van Wert, Scotchridge Road. Just first, I'd like the town board to take note that Will Reynolds, the judge who is currently presiding in the town of Princetown, if he thought he was moving into a turnkey operation, he should have probably looked at that position before throwing his hat in the ring. Maybe his qualifications truly aren't that to hold position. It'll take years for him to develop protocols and procedures to establish what kind of a courtroom he wants to run, as it did for me. My courtroom ran efficiently, and it was with great integrity. You can ask any attorney, any law enforcement agency, any defendant that came before me. I don't know where his first name basis comes from, but it's his prerogative to run the court in his own manner. Each court in the counties have different procedures that each one follows. There's no set procedure that one court follows when it comes to acting within their capacity under statutory laws. And as far as fines go, I followed protocol, I followed statutory rules, and I guess the proof will be in the pudding, the 10th of the month, every time he submits his check to the state to the supervisor, and the amounts that go to the comptroller will really determine what kind of cases he's hearing. And as far as the town board allowing him to hold another court for civil cases, the court, when I ran the court, we had about 2.5 civil cases per month. Whether that justifies another court day would remain up to you. However, I think that you need to take a look at the matrix of the whole court processes. As you critically looked at my court, I think that should be a critical assessment as well before allowing him to take on another court day and actually having to put in for more hours and potentially more money. And again, without the cases, how do you justify the court? As far as Ms. Seeley not being his court clerk, that's his prerogative. The town law allows for the judge to name who his court clerk wants to be. But for him to blatantly indicate that there were slanderous lies told about him during the campaign process, he should look in his own backyard, because he, on more than one occasion, bad-mouthed and slandered myself and the administration that was running against him. So he should not throw stones, for lack of a better word, because more than one occasion, people have come up to me and said, you can't believe what that judge said about you running. So that's all I wanted to say, but again, more importantly, look at the numbers before allowing another court day to take place. And again, if he thought he was moving into a turnkey operation, he should have thought twice before throwing his hat in the ring.
Thank you. Additional comments? All right, we'll close comments at 8:44. Although I don't have it on here, I'm not sure, but, you know, you probably do councilman concerns or not. Doug Ray, any councilman concerns?
No concerns.
Councilman Kuzinski?
Could I present the E-code stuff?
Yeah.
I'll make it quick. We were scheduled tonight to review 4 laws. Chapter 13 in the new manuscript for appearance tickets, Chapter 18 for public assemblies, Chapter 45 for dogs, and Chapter 58 for code of ethics. The appearance tickets, Dan Marciniak pointed out rightly that the 2 articles that we have currently on the books for the code enforcement officer and the fire warden to issue tickets is also another town official, the dog control officer, can also issue tickets. And so we have to put language into Chapter 13 to include the dog control officer. So we're going to table it tonight and go forward. But I've handed you, gents, what the general code has suggested about the personal service, the authority to issue was questioned because 2 of the laws cited, junk car law and the sanitation ordinance, had not been included in the package that they received last month. So, but Dan Marciniak had copies. I forwarded it to general code. They're going to put it into the code. The dog law and the code of ethics law. I wrote up a statement for you gents to consider, but it's, we have to table this because the 2010 local law for dogs was sent to the general code in March of 2013. When in fact they should have had the 2013 law. So I've requested a copy from the State Records Department in Albany to eliminate the confusion so that we know what's on record at the state for the dog law. And when we find that out, we can just move forward. Basically, the code of ethics law, we screwed up somehow. The text of the law that general code put in the manuscript differs from the text that is on our website. And Mike Cuevas, I will be touching base with you and with Bill Little and Mary Sheehan on the ethics board to decide which and how it happens. So when we find and make that determination, we'll get that information to general code. And move forward. That takes us to public assemblies. And I'm afraid, there are 5 comments that general code made. First was on permit application. And they pointed out that section 18-4G requires an application for a permit to specify whether food or beverage is intended to be prepared, served, or distributed. Section 15E seems to require that food be served, in that it requires facilities to have an adequate supply of food. Are these provisions consistent? If food is not required to be supplied, section 18.5E could be revised as follows, and they've made it suggested language. If it is intended to be prepared, served, or distributed, it's all semantics, but I mean, if you read the law and then read what they suggest, this is the extent of their comment. The second one is on facility requirements. And the word solid waste, garbage, and trash appears to be redundant. They just want to streamline the wording. And they want to add and other waste materials as instead of saying garbage, trash. So that's, it's just.
The only thing there that we have to look out for is that we don't have a definitional section that defines solid waste, garbage, and trash as three different things.
That's a good point, Mark. I'll check into that. The third comment they issued was on insurance. And they asked the question, are the insurance amounts in sections 18.7 current? And this law, which was published in, I think, 1983, said that liability insurance policy insuring the town against liability for damage to a personal property with limits of not less than $500,000 to $1 million for bodily injury or death, and limits of not less than $500,000 for property damage, sufficient to save the town harmless from any liability or cause of action which might arise by reason of granting of the permit. And it goes on. Would any of you have an idea that's adequate or has?
It's not unusual, but the wording itself is not typical. So, for when it's damage to person, you usually have an individual and an aggregate limit. So you might have $500,000 per person and $1 million aggregate, or $1 million, $2 million. Most values these days. So, just like your auto insurance, if there's one person injured,
Right.
the limit for that person's injuries might be $500,000. But if there's 3 people in the car, the aggregate limit would be $1 million. So that it can't be more than $1 million coverage limit to exceed that.
Would it be a good idea to go to an insurance company and ask them how to?
We got NYMER.
Oh, NYMER?
We should probably compare our NYMER, at least our coverage for reference.
Okay. All right. Oh, boy. So we're gonna be 0 for 4 tonight.
Not really.
The fourth of the 5 comments is on fees, and this is a good example of having a fee schedule and what an advantage it will be. And basically, in 1983, the town of Princetown said that each petition shall be accompanied by a fee in the amount of $250 at the time of its submission. And what general code is saying, if we remove the specific fee this section, 1810, and replace with text indicating that fees are set by the town board by resolution. Boom, it's done. So that first one that we approved tonight would put that into place. And so we could check the box that said remove specific fee amount and be done with that. And then the fifth comment they made was on enforcement penalties for offenses. And the paragraph B of section 1811 states, for each violation of the provisions of this local law, the person violating the same shall be subject to a fine of not more than $500 nor less than $100. General Code commented by saying, if the town wishes to add a term of imprisonment to the penalties in section 1811B, the subsection could be revised as follows. Note too that the text suggested below increases the maximum misdemeanor penalty to the level we typically see in New York legislation. In the new paragraph B, it would read, for each violation of the provisions of this chapter, the person violating the same shall be subject to a fine of not more than $1,000, imprisonment for not more than 1 year, or both. And the decision we have to make is revise as suggested, what I just read, or to make up our own language, or to leave it alone.
Don't you think that's a little steep?
That's what they said, to put it in line with New York State legislation.
Well, that does involve some other, it set some other things into motion. So if you were to then prosecute somebody else, what you're now doing is classifying the violation as a Class A misdemeanor. That's the only way you get the up to 1 year imprisonment penalty and the fine up to $1,000. Then the way you prosecute it is going to be somewhat different too, because now it's a criminal violation or criminal crime, not a town code violation. So anybody that's charged with that and is faced with imprisonment by up to a year in jail is entitled to a jury trial. If they're indigent, they're entitled to public defense, by assigned public defender or counsel. So that's why some municipalities don't choose to do that.
What do you think is appropriate for Princetown?
Well, for this type of violation, I don't know that we get even that many applications for public assembly, permits. What venues do we have that are going to lend themselves?
When I was reading this law, I'm thinking of what Waynesburg has to deal with.
Right, that's, and so maybe Waynesburg, because of their particular circumstances, would want to have a tough public assemblies law.
Yeah.
But, here I don't know if that's something that
Okay.
would be appropriate here.
Do you see anything faulty with the language in the law as it's written?
Well,
I know you don't have the whole law there.
Right, but as far as this enforcement part, judges sometimes don't like the law to dictate what the minimum fine would be. So we usually just provide an upper limit, and then it's up to the judge, so that this, would basically take away some judicial discretion. so that if the judge wanted to impose like a conditional discharge, to say, okay, you're gonna do community service or something, because you don't have the $100. This would say you can't do that, because you have to have a minimum fine of $100.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you the truth, I read that whole stuff you gave me, and you gotta be a lawyer to figure it out, the way I looked at it.
Well, this one's from 1983, you know, and it's, question, you know, do we need to update this? Back then, they said that public assembly of 1,000 people, you need a permit. And
And back in '75 is when they started the thing with Waynesburg, that's when they all got nervous.
so maybe we can talk offline a little bit, Mike, but so basically, we want to move forward. Heather's been a great help. I want to acknowledge Heather's contribution to this process. And, but I think, for now, I don't think we can really present anything for the agenda meeting that we can actually act. Maybe we can have something by the agenda meeting to discuss, you know, and that we can hash it out. But right now, I'm afraid that, and the point you brought up, Mike, I'm sorry that I didn't include you on the distribution of this sooner. It's like,
So we should maybe try to do a couple more during the agenda meetings, if it's possible, at least.
oh, yeah, I plan to do that, yeah. And by that time, you know, we're gonna get better at doing this as time goes by. And you guys, thank you for, you know, reading through it. Lou, I know you picked up things, Bob. So, in light of the fact that it's 9 o'clock, I'll shut up.
All right, sorry, Joe, for,
That's all.
Councilman Esposito. Got anything? Good. Mr. Myers.
I'm good.
All right. Did they combine them, or is it still two?
No, it's 2 days and then you can put it on the page. Under election, primary issue.
All right. All right, there's nothing more. Let's adjourn at 9:01.
Make a
Oh,
motion.
sorry.